Oh, no. You know, I've been talking about that with
1, 2, 3, 4.
Just find a little spot. You're gonna break off this part, and what you do is you just kind of either break the paper open or just to find a way to take the tobacco out of the paper. Don't put the paper on the land either. Thank you for the air that we get to breathe, because it's good, clean air. And just thank you for this. So just find, you can find it, you can put it in the water, you can put it on the trees, on the rocks, wherever you like. So that's the first one before we start our hike. And the second one is when you're on your hike, just to stay open to little signs of connection, I think is a good way to offer it. Which means if you're walking and you see a little rock and you're like, look at that little rock. I think that little rock is like calling to me. You break off this part, again, you'll do the same thing. And you'll pick up your little item, could be a pine cone branch, whatever you want it to be really. And then just put tobacco down and say, thank you very much for the gift. And that's just that sense of reciprocity. And what that does is it allows you to have a little something to put in one of your bird and costume pockets that you have for the rest of the show. Does that sound good?
Smells so sweet.
I know, the tobacco.
Yeah.
Really
I've never smelled it before. Unlit.
You know, we didn't know what that hike was going to be. But then when we got to that cliff and everyone went up to the top of the cliff, that was the life change, because they got to be birds on a cliff and they got to see the view and they got to imagine that this is what their world was. Everyone got to have that sense of transformation within them, and they felt so accomplished. And just to see their shininess, they were so shiny with light and joy, and that just really filled me.
Shit, Millard, baby! Holy shit, Mallard! We are on a rock formation. Why are none of them shiny?
Zip, zap,
Oh,
zip, zap, zip, zap, zip,
I think they did what we bought them for, Jack. They brought us here, wherever here is.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I was trying to do that where I was like, open up. Cool.
Birds, attack! These men are men who are here to once again force us to live like them. Beat them back with your wings!
There we go. I love this
Good? Okay, alright, good. I was like,
Grew and the earth grew and grew until it was this beautiful island.
Native community in Virginia was federally recognized. And really, it has only been since 2018 that 7 now of the 11 state recognized tribes are federally recognized. That whole business of recognition and sovereignty is a discussion in and of itself, but what it means is the state of Virginia did not formally acknowledge Native communities in Virginia until the 1980s. The Racial Integrity Act was written in such a way that there would only be 2 categories of human beings in Virginia. There would be colored and there would be white, and there were no Indians. And in part, it has to do with the fact that the director of the Bureau of Vital Statistics believed that he was a eugenicist, and he believed that the mixing of the races essentially was weakening our society, and among other things decided that all of the Native peoples in Virginia had married into or had partnered with black families, and so that made them black. That thing that we call the one-drop rule that has been used. What it did is it pitted African American and Native American communities against each other. So welcome to March. This is much more like what March should be in Virginia. That there are no big ancestral sites on this campus, and it has to do with the fact that we have no large bodies of water right here. You have to go to the Shenandoah itself to find the large sites, and they are absolutely there. So all over campus there are dotted these little, what we call encampment sites for families, and it just so happens that when we were doing our work over here, we were able to find a spear point that dated, and just to explain very quickly, in our world, when we were doing archaeology, because our soils are wet and acidic, the only thing that survives essentially is stone and ceramic. And this is before the period of ceramic manufacture, and so what we find are stone tools. And we found a stone tool that was made in a very particular pattern that we know dates to that time period of about 4,000 years ago. Knowledge was passed about this place. This is where you come if you need this on your way to somewhere else. And that's exactly what we think is going on down here. So there's a lot of movement, again, in this landscape. So we try to honor that as we tell that story. Okay, the site is right over there. So we're going to cut through here and just walk up by those beds and go up to those trees. The artifacts the few artifacts that we found were pretty much right in that area there. So you can imagine on a really nice spot above the marshy place, above the rocks, but where they could sit and make their way. This is chert. This is the rock that they were using for making their stone tools. Yeah.
It must be very dense rock.
It's very dense. It is very predictable in the way that it breaks, and ultimately you can make a really good sharp stone tool out of it. And so they were looking for this. So in the middle of all the limestone, so think about the bluestone that's all over campus, there are these outcroppings of this darker solid rock, and that's what they were looking for. So they were geologists. They were definitely geologists. They knew where things were that geologists have only recently started now. Here's one of their tools. It's the tip of what we call a biface, meaning that it has been worked on both sides. You can see the flakes that have been broken off. And so this was the tip of a spear point.
Wow.
Yeah. Those are the little clues that you find. But see how it's made out of that very dark rock?
Wow. You can pass it along. And I would have never guessed that. Like that wasn't just a piece that broke off or anything.
When we got to go to that specific archaeological site with Dr. Carol Nash, and she contextualized that so well, like, you know, she had us imagine no trees, then she had us imagine trees. She talked about the natural plants. She talked about the beehives, and she just was so great at really giving us the picture of growth and of the land, and then to bring us to that archaeological site, and then just to even pick up just a spear point, and then some fire. It was just like, and just to show the rock was really powerful for me.
Yeah.